Module 5 prompted us to do some deep reflecting on our past to help us better understand the future. For some, thinking about our past may have brought up painful experiences or perhaps traumatic memories, which can be challenging emotionally. That's a normal part of therapy, and while it can be challenging, it's a crucial part of individual growth. During that exercise, you may have realized some things about your family dynamic growing up that upset you. On the other hand, you may have made productive and positive revelations or connections about your past, which broadened your level of self-awareness. Regardless of how you felt, the exercise should have led to some sort of deeper insight on how your past experiences have affected the present. We've already gone through triggers to the anger response at a basic level, and you may have already had a good idea of what your triggers are. That's great. So in this module, we're going to take understanding our triggers to the next level by carefully observing and recording how they play out in real-life situations. This will include a homework assignment that I'd like you to work on over the next week using the PDF that's attached to this module. By the end of this module, and after the completion of the assignment, you should have a solid awareness and understanding of the exact situations that tend to trigger your anger response. Here we go. Becoming aware of your triggers is perhaps the most important component of learning how to manage your anger. If we are unable to recognize our anger triggers, there's no way to prevent the cycle of anger from starting. There are 3 steps we need to take to become fully aware of our triggers. First, we learn how to measure our anger. Then, we learn how to identify the triggers, which you might have some idea what your triggers are from previous modules. Then we can record how we react to our triggers. In order to become aware of your anger, you need to monitor it. A simple way to do this is to use the tool called the anger meter. You can utilize the anger meter to measure the level of anger you are experiencing at any given time. The numbers correspond to how angry you are feeling. So as you see, 1 can be bothered or mildly irritated. 3, you're starting to see your negative thoughts spiraling. 5, you're raising your voice or starting to curse. 7, you're engaging in angry behaviors like pacing or slamming doors. And by the time we're at a 10, anger is completely out of our control and explosive. General rule of thumb for anger management is that if you are experiencing an anger at a level of 3 or higher, the goal would be to implement some positive coping skills and techniques to bring that level down, or to keep it where it is as opposed to letting it rise out of control. And we'll talk more about those techniques in future modules. So let's talk a little bit more about triggers that are specific to you. In order to break the anger habit, you need to develop awareness of events, circumstances, and behaviors that trigger your anger. The only way to use these strategies to control your anger is to know what really triggers your anger. This is going to be different for everyone and completely unique to your circumstances or situation. So take a moment to pause this video and consider the events or circumstances which get you to a 3 or higher on the anger meter. So that's when our negative thoughts start to spiral. Write them down. And then congratulations, you just identified your triggers. So throughout the next week, we'll use this anger meter provided in the module to take note of where you fall when you get angry during a specific anger response. So before we identified what things get us angry, and now we can identify what things get us at a 3 or higher on the scale. So you can take a moment to go ahead and write those down, and you can pause the video in order to do that. So here's just some more examples of common triggers. So injustice, disrespect, violation of your personal space, abusive language towards you, if you feel that you're being labeled, shamed, or blamed, if someone's physically threatening you, if you're receiving insults, if you believe that you've gotten misinformation, if someone's lied to you, if there's some sort of dispute in your relationship, if you're constantly disappointed by someone in particular, if you feel that there's a lack of control, or let's just be honest, certain people can just trigger our anger. So now we go to the anger record. So now that you know your triggers, we can take your awareness one step further by recording and reflecting how they play out in your life and affect your environment and relationships. The anger record is a great tool to do this. So you can download the PDF of the anger record to use throughout the next week to record incidents of the anger that you experience. After recording and reflecting on 5 incidents of anger, you can complete the review at the bottom of the document. So here's an example of what a properly completed anger reflection looks like. So the trigger is maybe that your husband failed to make anniversary plans. The warning signs that you're getting angry, you're noticing those physical sensations like your heart rate is rising, and then behaviorally, maybe you're pacing, and then emotionally, maybe you're feeling argumentative. The anger response that you have is that you're yelling and cursing. The outcome of that could be that there was a 1 hour fight. You guys went to bed angry and upset. And then you could reflect back on that and say something like, I could have expressed how I was feeling prior to getting angrier and yelling. If I don't give my husband a chance to understand how I feel, he can't do anything about it. And this anger record is going to be really important to use in the future because every time you have an anger incident, you can always go back and reflect on it.